ahead and get started. I know that we have a ton of information to cover, and I want to be sure that we give 30 jam-packed minutes to our audience. So let's go ahead and get started. I am Christie Freeze. I am so honored to be your host for today's conversation. It is one that I have really been looking forward to. If you've seen me promoting this on LinkedIn, you know that this is a very special episode for me. And it's, just such a joy to welcome you to the Senior Living Sizzle, especially if this is your very first time. Welcome back if you are a returning guest. The Sizzle is super powered by Heart Legacy, which is home to SalesMail, Senior Living's #1 video tool. And these are expert-led discussions on the industry's hottest topics, the sizzling topics. So today we're going to dive into one of my absolute favorite topics, and it's how to practice polite persistence. We've all worn our shirts. We're all ready, locked and loaded.
We are ready to go.
We're ready. And what that really means and what it means to serve in the role of sales within senior living. So as I mentioned, this is an extra special segment for me because it's a bit of a full circle moment, right, Julie? Julie was actually one of my very first sales coaches back in 2012 when I was just getting started. So speaking of, we are joined by Julie and Dresden from Grow Your Occupancy today. So thank you both so much for being here today. And if you're not familiar with these ladies, I just don't believe that that's even possible or true, but just in case not, let's have the two of you introduce yourselves. Julie, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I'm Julie Podewitz, CEO and founder of Grow Your Occupancy, and I was Christie's. I don't know if I was one of your first coaches.
You
I
were the
think I was
first.
your first coach. Yeah, back in 2012. I've been coaching, building sales infrastructure, been working on the operator side as CMO most recently before starting Grow about 4.5 years ago. And I'm very happy to be here. I'm so proud of Christie.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. And Dresden, let's kick it to you.
Yes, I'm Dresden Leebron-Cincurak, and I'm Vice President of Business Development with Julie at Grow Your Occupancy. And Julie and I have been together now almost a decade. I've been in the industry for 20 years and very grateful for my time. I've kind of worked my way from pretty much all the positions in a community level and then support team and kind of everything in between. So when Julie talked to me about Grow Your Occupancy, I was like, all right, let's go. What are we doing? So never looking back.
I love that. Well, you are a dynamic duo, and I am grateful for you both and thankful that you have joined us here today.
It's our pleasure.
So let's talk about what we're going to be talking about. You all know I love an agenda. So the three main things that we're going to be talking about today is, before we get started, I want to spend just a couple of minutes either laying the groundwork if you've never thought about this before, or if you have, perhaps this will be a reminder. I want to talk about why your role as a sales director is so incredibly important. And then I want to spend even less minutes talking about the CRM, but it's important. And I want to help you shift your mindset. And I know that Julie and Dresden are going to be able to help us do that, to shift your mindset around thinking of it as your trusty sidekick and some tips on how to make it easier. And then what you're all here for, the polite persistence playbook. We're going to talk more about that and what that all means. So Julie, let's start with you. Let's talk about maybe your personal perspective. You just shared your journey, in senior living and how long you've been experiencing sales and teams within this space. And how has your perspective evolved or shifted around the actual role of sales
In senior living?
in senior living?
I'm not sure if it's changed a lot. I've always, meaning that I've loved senior living sales. I started out as a sales director at a community or challenge community. At the time, I didn't realize it was challenged. We had showers down the hallway, community showers, and no closets in the apartment. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. I think that, this really selling senior living is so difficult. And, we get to serve a wonderful population and really make a difference. And for me, it's a privilege, certainly. It's the excitement, I think, for me, that this is so difficult. I don't know if excitement's the right word, but it's such a challenge. It's such a challenge that, I'm learning every day. I feel like I start every day. There's always something to learn, always something to practice, a skill set, because requires such a high level of skill. I mean, if you're bored doing senior living sales, I'm not sure what to tell you because there's so much to do, so much responsibility. And to your point earlier, Christy, about a mindset, it's really that mindset of I get to do this, not I have to do this, I
Oh, my
get to do
favorite
it,
shift.
right? And so it's the honor and the privilege of serving in senior living and the honor and privilege of being a salesperson that we
I
get
love
to
that.
do it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that subtle shift of I've been using that a lot just in general lately. We don't have to do anything, we get to.
Mhm.
And it's ever changing and ever evolving. So I love that. Dresden, I'm curious your thoughts on being a guide or a resource for families during times of aging, decline, perhaps a crisis. And I know we're talking about mindset. So what is it that what is that mindset piece that you think that sales directors, sales teams need to adopt in order to do this really well?
Sure. So, to think about that mindset shift and think about the things that we get to do, that not that we have to, that we get to. One of the biggest shifts that I think personally that I had very early on in my career was picking up the phone. Something as simple as, I don't know, having a conversation with someone and really leading with an empathetic heart and listening and being quiet and not, as Julie would say, we jump to solve a lot in our industry and we think, oh, okay, well, they love this. And so we'll jump to solve and go, we've got the solution, we've got the answer. And instead of really listening to what was important to them, we're really taking that moment to go, well, we're the best because when we don't really even know what makes us the best in their eyes. So I think some of the main things with a mindset shift and what we must do in the industry is have conversation and ask really, really good questions that are open-ended to really open up the table for somebody to talk to us so that we can provide those solutions and we can provide those resources. I can't give you something if I don't know what you're looking for. So, it's listening without assumption. It's not jumping to solve and really paying attention to what they have to say and then picking up the phone. I mean, it's just if you have phone anxiety, maybe it's not the right role for you, and that's okay, but we definitely need to have more conversations with people.
And our demographic, right? They're still wanting to talk on the phone. Like there is still that layer of if you can pick up the phone and get someone on a call and ask those questions, they will tell you everything that you need to know. And I think that, you're exactly right about we have a tendency, especially if we know our community is the best, that we sit down and we're like, let me tell you why. And they're like, I don't need that of you. I really just need you to sit there and hold some space for me so that I can tell you what I need and see if this is even a good fit for me. So I love that. Those are really great insights and really great, perspectives and mindset shifts to consider. Anything else that either of you want to add on that, or should we jump to a little CRM talk?
One
I
thing
love
I'll add
CRM.
is I love a CRM too, is to Dresden's point, people do want to open up. If you're listening without judgment and you're genuinely curious, so if you're new and you're wondering, are these questions intrusive? They're not. People want to talk about themselves.
And more people
Yeah.
than not won't be able to provide you that answer without the prompting of the question, right? They
Mhm.
would never think to tell you about a fall that happened 3 months ago and the domino effect that's occurred as a result. Like,
Yeah.
we need to be able to ask those questions confidently because we are the expert, we are the resource and the guide, and that allows them the space to tell us what's going
Mhm.
on.
Yeah.
And to your point, Christy, I think a lot of us, I've done a lot of mystery shops in my career across the United States, and so many sales people are leading with clinical questions. They're not leading with, who are you? And tell me what's going on. We can learn a lot by just asking this really open, high gain question from the beginning of, tell me what's going on. Tell me why you called me today. We're going to learn those clinical things. We're not just starting out with, do you need AL or do you need MC? They
They don't even
don't
know what that means.
they don't know what it means. And so when we lead with a
Exactly.
question that's truly leading with empathy, tell
Mhm.
me what you need today, then that opens that that opens up the platform for them to just spill their guts, tell us what they need, and then we can glean what we need to by redirecting the conversation. You mentioned this, let's talk more about that. So I think it's really giving us the space to just open with something huge, a big question that allows us to drill down even more and find out what those true roots of the needs are. But we can't leading with clinical questions of, is she ambulatory? Is she on a cane? Is she on a walker? That leads us down a path that we don't really want to go down.
For sure. And to just kind of pin this in and tie it up with a sweet little bow, I think that it is so crucial and so important. My own personal note on this is that if you've done everything that Julie and Dresden just described and you learn the things that are important, but you might not be the best fit for them, you've got to tell them that. You
Yep.
have to also be in a position that if they're telling you blatant things that are not aligned with you or your community, it is up to us as an industry to share with people all of the other resources and all of the other options that might be a good fit because they will ultimately come back to you or send referrals your way. So
Yep.
that's my little soapbox on that.
Some great comments too. I'm reading some
Oh,
great
yeah.
reviews and great comments. Yeah, multifamily. What's a key life event? You know,
Yeah.
it's great. Love it.
Ah, I love you all being here. Okay, let's shift and talk about the CRM for just a little bit. Julia, we'll start with you. Give us some tips or thoughts on how you coach teams to develop consistent, healthy CRM habits that actually stick. Tell us,
So
Julie. Tell us.
tell us what to do. Right. Well, habits are repetitive action. Right. So it's really, I can't teach a habit. I can only encourage. And a couple things that have worked for many people that I've worked with and worked for me as well is you make a decision, right? So first you decide what it is that you're wanting to do. Take it in chunks, right? The CRM, for example, something that people don't necessarily think of as their tool, and you need to love your CRM. You determine what you want to do, what chunk of it, make a decision, and commit and do. Things like, okay, I'm going to enter all my new leads. That's what I'm going to do. Enter all my new leads, or I'm going to add some personalization. I'm going to add a little bit of a life story, or I'm going to, okay, now that I'm doing that, I'm going to make sure every single person in here has a next step. These sound so basic, and they are. I've heard, back to the basics. Let's go forward to the fundamentals. Let's move
Ooh, I like
forward
that.
to fundamentals. And it's really the fundamentals, and it's just the discipline. But if we look at, I had to tell you that to myself yesterday for exercise. It's like, but I can do so many things that physically that some of my peers is not, I don't know, aren't able to. I'm like, I thankfully can do this. So I get to do it instead of I have to, or I don't want to. So I know it can be a drag. You don't have to love it, but it is if you want to grow in your career, you've got to have data. You've got to have analytics so that you can look on your business, and then the doing of it. It's just something that each one of us decides, right? And I think just having the right mindset.
I love that. I think also what I heard you say is that it doesn't need to be starting tomorrow. I need to be 100% rock
Right.
solid at entering my new leads and personalizing my accounts and my records. And I don't need to do all of those things starting tomorrow.
Have to love it. Just do it. Exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
Do it in
uh,
chunks. Take it in little
just do it
bits.
in
Or
chunks.
make
Yeah,
sure my referral outreach is, I'm gonna, or I've got 800 past dues. I'm gonna take 50 of them a week,
I
or
love that.
whatever it is. Yep.
Yeah, bite size. Okay, so in that same vein, Dresden, any thoughts that you have to add as far as shifting it from being more of just data entry to really allowing it to be a supportive tool, a resource, something that houses all of the information that you've been working diligently to get?
Yeah. So a CRM management is my jam. I went on a soapbox all day about how important it is. And the reason I know that it's so important is because I watched my career go from good to great because of really great CRM management. So we've all heard the adage of if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, then, have good notes so somebody can take the ball and run with it, right? It's a horrible analogy, but it is what it is.
See if you win the lotto and you leave.
Oh, there you go.
Now,
That works.
let's not get hit by a bus.
No buses.
Let's
No
win the
buses.
lotto. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So we win the lottery
There you
and
go.
I'm not coming
Yeah.
back tomorrow, and somebody else has got to take the responsibility of managing these people that have reached out to us for help. And so it is mission critical that we guard our time as sales professionals in our industry, or any industry for that matter that deals with a CRM, to sit down and actually put a sign on our door that says, hey, I'm in power hour, do not disturb, whatever it is, come back later, and really sit down and do it and make the phone calls, do the entry. It isn't just data entry. You are taking notes on people that have reached out to you, asked for help, that need a resource. They need a landing spot, whether it's your community or another community or at home with services, whatever that may be. But we won't know what we're doing, especially if we're going to continue the conversation and follow up on something. Those Julie mentioned, those past dues, they are broken promises. They are broken promises to the people that we have promised that we would follow up with, that we would help, that we would get them to move forward in the process, regardless of where they land. And so by not following up with what we say we're going to do. If we say we're going to call you Monday afternoon, we got to call Monday afternoon. They're banking on that. And that is broken trust if we don't call that Monday afternoon. So we just really want to make sure that we're managing that time effectively and making that our number one priority every day. We've got a lot of plates spinning constantly, but that's the number one special creature that you can't let fall, because there's a human side to that. So
you got a lot of hearts on the broken promise, and it really is, it's a mindset. So not following up or letting it go past is a broken promise, and looking at it that way, I think shifts the mindset too.
1,000%. And I'm sure that you all are seeing this in the chat, but I absolutely love, it looks like Jana maybe said, for me, adding those detailed notes in the CRM helps me remember those conversations and then add those personal touches when I make contact with prospects. They appreciate that I remembered, and it shows I care about them as a person, not just another number in my system. Mic drop all day.
Amen.
That's so good.
Love the comments. Yep.
I love that. Okay, we do have a question. So let's maybe let's go through the polite persistence topic a little bit for just a couple minutes, and then we'll come back to some questions, because Stephanie, I see your question and I'm curious if some of our questions might answer this for you. So let's shift into talking about polite persistence. I know it's on our shirts. I know you've been hearing the buzz. It's been talked about a lot. We're leaning all of the way in. And so Julie, let's start with you and just talk about, what does polite persistence mean to you?
Well, polite persistence, I think, going back to your first question about mindset, and it's an honor and a privilege. So polite persistence is a mindset shift from follow up. And some people don't even like to use that term, follow up, or I have to do these calls, or I'm bugging people, or I'm stalking. If you think you're stalking, you're not going to want to live in that mindset. You might be stalking. Or if you feel you're bugging people, you're not going to pick up the phone. But when you're in a mindset of, I'm politely persistent, they deserve my attention. They deserve my promise, if you will. So if someone reached out to you, reached out to your website at the time that was convenient for them, they'll pick up the phone at a time that's convenient for them. Silence isn't a no. Silence isn't negative. Okay, silence means I can't pick up the phone right now, or I don't feel like talking, but keep that in mind. Silence isn't a no. So polite persistence really is, thank you, Dresden, to kind of get, and she said, we need polite persistence t-shirts, and you can get yours too if you want one, for sure. But it's really a mindset shift, because the responsibility is on you to reach out to your customer. When you're a customer, it's responsibility of whomever is selling to you to reach back out to you. It's not the customer's responsibility to reach out to the person selling, if you will. So that
Especially
to me
after
is what
they,
polite persistence is. Yeah.
I love that. And especially right after they've already reached out to you.
Yeah.
They initiated this. So before I kick it to Dresden, it's making me think about too the fact that I asked at the beginning of this conversation, how many of you have searched for senior living for yourself? And a lot of you said yes. There were a lot of hearts, there were a lot of yeses. And so I asked that because exactly what Julie is talking about right now. How many of you in that search for senior living or a search for anything, right? Buying a house, buying appliance, whatever it is, and the person called you back and you didn't have a chance to, you were in a day full of meetings, you have back-to-back things, picking the kids up, and you just didn't have a chance to respond yet. It doesn't mean you don't want that thing. It just means you haven't had a chance to get back to them. And so I think that it's important for us to consistently remember we're all just human beings trying to navigate this.
I have a quick, and I'm sorry to jump on you,
Yes.
but this got me so excited. So one of our clients asked for reference for a video tool. Guess what I said? SalesMail. And you immediately reached out to this person. And I kid you not, I was on the phone with him yesterday. He's an operator, owner operator in the business. And he said, oh my gosh, your person at SalesMail is being great. I think they've reached out 7 times. And it's not that please let them know, it's not that I don't want it. I'm the one that asked you for the reference. I do want to talk to them. It's been crazy. And I really appreciate their effort. And I'm like, oh, I got to tell Christy that. So
I love that you said it here in front of everyone. I love that so
I was so
much.
proud of you. And he even said, he goes, he was not upset. He's like, they followed me 7 times and I'm going to get back. I've traveled, I've been at conferences.
Yeah.
I'm this and that. And I'm like, oh, bingo. If you had only followed up once, I don't know if that would have been very impressive.
Right. Yeah. And we just have to also remember that is the case for all of us. It's the case for all of our prospects.
Yeah.
And so if we can just extend a little bit of extra grace and give people the benefit of the doubt until they tell you no,
Right.
they're not saying no. Okay, Dresden, I know that this is also a topic that you love to talk about, which is why you're both here today. But I would love to talk about what a healthy or really just solid follow-up cadence might look like and how often should we be following up?
To Julie's point, and to your point, how many of us on during this time, right? We've had text messages, we've had phone calls, we've had emails, we've had a lot of people trying to give us information of some sort, and we are busy. And so we can't necessarily respond to that. And so we have to be mindful of the fact that when someone raises their hand for help, that we need to act quickly. Speed to lead is one of our number one metrics in our industry or any industry. But so when we have that opportunity to help someone, we need to put down the sword that says, hey, we're being salesy, because we're not. This is not a cold lead. This is a warm lead that we've worked really hard with, or to grab, from a marketing perspective. We spent lots of dollars to reach this person. Now they're in front of us, ready to speak to us, and we just call once. Statistics show that average sales directors give up on the 4th try, but then people pick up on the 5th try 80% of the time. So, and I talk about this time and time again because it is so accurate. Because with Grow Your Occupancy, a lot of times every time we use a new lead cadence that's very specific, and it's kind of scientifically drawn because we have the facts there. We know that that's the statistic, right? So, the first day, the 3rd day, and the 5th day look like, let's pick up the phone and try to call them. Let's text message them. Let's send them a sales mail. Let's send them an email. And doing that on the first, the days 1, days 3, and days 5. And then day 2 or 4, let's give them a phone call. Let's leave a message. Let's vary those times that we're trying to reach out to them, because not everybody's going to be available at 9 a.m. Not everybody's going to be available on their lunch hour. Sometimes we might want to vary our hours as sales folks on the weekends and in the evenings, and let's stretch that so that we can actually get people on the phone. And then from there, once we kind of back up off of that just a little bit, but still practicing that polite persistence every 3 days or so, calling always, but sprinkling in the text messages, sprinkling in the video chats, sprinkling in those emails. And then you can kind of move to a weekly strategy, after 30 days or so, weekly strategy for a month, then every other week strategy for a month, and then finally on a month to month cadence. Eventually they're going to pick up. 9 times out of 10, without fail, on day 5, they've picked up. And they specifically say to me so often, very seldom do I get somebody that's frustrated with me. Typically they say, "Oh, I appreciate your persistence. I've been trying to sit down and call you all week."
Oh,
And you're like, "Okay, I'm all yours. Let's go." And they appreciate all of that. It's not that they get frustrated, because they are dealing with, oftentimes, especially if there's a clinical need, they're dealing with so many other people that are needing their attention right then to handle what's going on at home. If they're in rehab, they're dealing with those case managers. They're dealing with doctors. They're dealing with varying care appointments. Uh, Lots of different things that they're dealing with, and we fall secondary even though we are really primary in that moment. So,
oh, I love that so much. One note that I want to just add to this, because everything you said is making me think about, I love to just have things in the queue. Like even when I was a sales director, and what I mean by that is maybe it's a testimonial from a resident. Maybe it's a video of frequently asked questions. Maybe it's, having something in the queue, maybe 5, 6, 7 things, so that when you're doing what Dresden just described, you've got some things that are actually valuable to offer to your prospects. Instead of, I know we talked about this yesterday, Julie, I don't even dare say it on this webinar, but calling to just check in, don't do it. Stop it. That's what
there's nowhere to crescendo from that. "Hey, Chris, calling to check in. Everything's great, Dresden. Thanks." Okay.
All
And
right,
then where do
bye.
we go? That's why when we're practicing those follow-ups, having those notes are
Yeah,
critical, because it's like, "Hey, Chrissy, I wanted to follow up with you on this, whatever it is."
that I
And
learned when you were there because I was listening to
seen and heard.
you.
Seen and heard. You won't go buy something from someone regardless if you don't feel seen and heard. Regardless of what it is. If it's a car, if it's a couch, I don't care. If you don't feel seen and heard and you don't feel valuable, you're going to go find and take your business elsewhere.
Amen. Mic drops for days. Okay, I can't believe that this has happened, but we only have 2 minutes left. Can you believe it? Okay, I do know that we have, so someone has raised their hand, and I believe that there was a question. So let me run to the question really quick. How do you overcome prospects not picking up the phone?
Yeah, that's a great one. I like Janice. I think Jana in a comment said practicing polite persistence is a tongue twister we didn't think we needed. I love that. Well, you can't control other people, so you forgive yourself for that. Forgive yourself and take that off your shoulders. Practicing polite persistence and multi-channel. So video messaging is excellent. Text messaging, emails. People sometimes still read their email. Being politely persistent, and I guess we have to let go of the things that we can't control. And we're human, we're going to get frustrated. When you find yourself kind of crossing that frustration bridge, maybe at mental check-in to just like, oof, okay, I'm doing, but know that you're doing the right thing, and that know that the next person will pick up. Somebody will pick up. And that person is going to be grateful or appreciative of the person that you are. So hang in there.
I love that.
And collect the no's. Collect the no's, because the more no's that you collect, the more yeses you will collect. And so it is okay that you're leaving message after message after message, because like Julie said, eventually somebody is going to pick up, and it's not going to be a problem. And people are going to ghost you. They're going to reject you. develop a thick skin and just realize I am out to help one more person. It's not about the person that you're not helping. I am absolutely going to connect with somebody and I'm going to help that person regardless. And use that fuel to drive your fire.
Ah, beautiful. Okay, we have one more question. How long should you continue to reach out to an inquiry that doesn't respond?
That is,
There's a magic question.
it is.
Longer than you think. Longer
Yeah.
than you think. And there's a space between never closing and closing too soon. So
Mhm.
I would say 1 year, and there just hasn't been connection. Or after maybe they've toured, and then a year close them out. Initially, as long as you're doing your cadence at the beginning, you're doing a lot of effort at the front end, give yourself, I don't know, what would you give, 90 days, 100 days, 120 days? But if you're calling, we've seen people call 2 times, 3 times, and close them out, they're not responding. No way. No way.
You just
Absolutely.
heard it took 7 times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and or 11. Gosh, we treat cold leads like new leads. We put them in the new lead cadence, and our connection rate with cold leads to warm them to warm is 68%, which a lot of people don't. Most people don't even track that.
Yeah.
That is a labor of labor. Yeah, because you can be all day long calling, and you're just getting voicemail, and we're out of time. But you know that somebody will, after 11 tries, someone will pick up the phone. So hang in there.
Okay, we are at time. We do have one more question. I don't know if you two can hang on for just one more minute. It says, how do you handle older leads that you inherit from a CRM? Can you speak
Treat
on
them,
that?
treat them like new ones.
Okay.
Treat them like
Beautiful.
new ones. Put them in a new lead cadence, and start with your discovery. Start with discovery. Yep.
I have also seen a video, of course, work in this case where you just use it to introduce yourself. I'm new to you. I'm Christie from ABC Community, and I just wanted to
Yeah.
introduce myself and see if this is still something that you're interested in.
Yep.
And it's okay to break up with
Great
someone.
question.
If you find that, you've done your due diligence, you've practiced the polite persistence, you've put them in a cadence and you've contacted them a zillion times and they've never picked up, you can break up with them and
100%.
still practice that politeness and say, hey, I'm here to help. Please let us know how we can be of service to you. There's a way to do all of that, but certainly don't give up. Do not give up because they need us. There's a reason that they reached out to us in the first place.
Agreed fully. Okay. Last thing that I have here is, are there any resources, books, blogs, tools, anything of the sort that you are swearing by right now? Dresden, I think that you are already locked and loaded. Okay. Look at her go. Resolving the occupancy puzzle and the Grow Selling Senior Living Workbook. So
Oh,
be sure to check those out.
sweet.
Yes, we will be sure
The
to.
best, for
Yes,
sure.
we'll provide those resources and links for you all. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Dresden. It was incredible to continue to learn from you and share you with our audience.
Oh, I loved your audience. Thank you all so much. You're amazing. Thanks, Christy. Thanks,
Thanks,
Dresden.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, guys.